Hey there, Adrienne Elise here, just popping in to talk to you about what's going on in the planets and the stars. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for September 3rd through 6th, 2019. So we are embarking as of today on a very powerful journey. We are culminating the last years and months of astrology as this incredibly powerful mutable T-square with all of our personal planets and Jupiter and Neptune happen. So Jupiter and Neptune have been in a square for this year. It's kind of the flavor of the 2019 astrology. First it happened in January, then it happened in June. Now we're coming up this month on the third and final square. But listen to this. Leading up to the square, we've had first the moon. This already happened right after that new moon. So the moon went over these planets. And now Venus, then Mercury, then the sun, then Mars are all going to be coming into a square with Jupiter and opposing Neptune, highlighting this intense square of 2019. So what is this about? This is when we start to understand what 2019 might be about for us. And so it's a huge time of shifting because we are having multiple mutable T-squares, one right after another. And mutable signs are about adjusting. They happen at the change of seasons. So Virgo right now, all these planets are in Virgo. That is a mutable sign. And it's about adjusting and shifting and changing to circumstances. So here we are. And what are we adjusting to? Well, apparently we are moving into a new age of energies, right? And there's a lot of talk about this intense astrology we've gone through in the last couple of months and the energies of the cosmos affecting us right now. And so that seems to be what we're adjusting to, is actually activation. And but it feels like we're kind of scrambling to get a sense of what is really going on in our personal experience. Like, what does this mean for me? You know? And that's what these next couple of weeks are about, as our personal planets, our daily reality. These planets all represent like our daily, day-to-day reality. They move, they shift signs very quickly. And so that's an interesting energy to keep tabs on, is that it's about adjustment and it's rapidly shifting. Okay, so don't get too stuck in any certain way that you feel. Let it just know that it's going to change soon, you know. And it's kind of one of those times when we need to step back or step within, deep within, and observe what's happening and not get too attached, because it's almost like what I'm seeing is, for people, is kind of like a movie playing out, where we're picking out past life pictures and experiences from this life that are coming to the surface and kind of trying to get sorted out and trying to help us make some sense of what's going on in our process. So right now, let's just talk about the very first T-square, besides the moon, just did that right after that new moon. It was kind of part of the new moon energy that happened on the 29th. So over the weekend, we had the moon going into this mutable T-square and starting these activation. Planets take their turns making this mutable T-square. Then around the equinox is when we're going to feel the third and final Jupiter square Neptune. And that's, we are going to be, I think that's probably the first time. I mean, it's going to be, that's when things make sense of what we're going through right now, because we're in such a big adjustment period of time. It's really hard to tell what's up from down and where we're going and what we're doing. And so after the equinox, you're going to get a clue and a direction that's coming. It's almost like we've got to receive this activation And then we have to sit with it, digest it, and then see what it might mean for us. Because what all of this is about is a Jupiter and Sagittarius energy. Jupiter at home in Sagittarius is a part of ourselves that wants to grow and expand, make stuff happen, live a life, a life of greater purpose, and a life of meaning. And the deal with why this is so dramatic is that we're really far away from this right now. We've been kind of programmed away over lifetimes from the fact that we even can or get to have a greater purpose in our life, in meaning in our life. And it's really on the surface right now. But what's happening right now is exactly this energy of like, do we get to? Or do we deserve? Because Venus in this mutable T-square is bringing up issues of self-worth. Now, Virgo wants to clean up and get organized and sort through, right? Now, Neptune is belief systems and delusions, but also fantasies and dreams and visions. But what's coming up right now in this Jupiter square Neptune, and the energy of this year is like, what delusions are in the way of that life of greater purpose? And so as we go through this over the next couple of weeks, we're kind of having all of these elements of ourself come into this T-square and bring up delusions on this, that correspond, and belief systems programming from claiming that life of greater purpose, greater meaning, that true path that we all yearn for, making sense of this experience on this earth plane. So right now, Venus, as of today, has come into its square with Jupiter. Now, the way this is manifesting for people is a bunch of past life stuff's coming up right now. Also typically corresponds with early childhood stuff, and deep vulnerabilities and sensitivities around whether or not we deserve, and it's some really sticky stuff coming up around past life failures or so-called failures, where we are stuck in a way in a time dimensional frequency where we weren't able to complete our mission, or we felt like we failed in our mission. Now, this is an illusion because, and it's exactly what is coming up to be reviewed, but everywhere that you have belief systems around whether or not you're good enough, whether or not you deserve, whether or not you're worthy of this life of greater purpose and meaning, this is everything really. It's like, can you allow the universe to support you in what you're here to do, or do you feel like you don't deserve it? Now, the thing that's kind of coming up around this not deserving is even a step deeper into the muck around feeling punished, or persecuted. This feminine archetype within all of us, the sensitive, intuitive, emotional creature that has been disparaged, cast aside, tortured, whatever is going on here. So, of course, we all have male and female within, but Venus represents this feminine aspect, and lifetimes where you're in a female body, but also any time throughout your lifetimes that you were working with these principles that have been associated with the female, your intuition and your empathic abilities. So a lot of things that are coming up are these so-called failures from past lives where, you were maybe using your intuition or it was used against you. Things that have happened that have kept you from doing what you were here to do. And part of this is that's going on has to do with the fact that often these souls that I've been working with that feel this way, and this deep kind of like unspoken, unaddressed, doesn't make any sense, but feeling of deep worthlessness within the being that goes back to a big so-called failure in a past life. But when you go and you look at that so-called failure, it was a product of manipulation and deceit and betrayal and targeting of the light worker soul, right? So a lot of these light workers, so sensitive, they take it personally, they feel horrible, they carry that feeling. And it's just like, it's all of these parts of ourselves that are stuck in the past, in these grief feelings. And of course we have those in this life too, right? You know, past life failures and griefs. And we've known that if you've lived long enough to see that a lot of things you thought were a failure was actually a redirection towards something better. A lot of the energy that's coming through around these so-called failures and the griefs from these past lives also have to do with the fact that you maybe thought you had this big project to do, but maybe you were just bringing in impulse, you know, and who's to say that it wasn't a success, what you did, you know? And what if that was just like, you know, even though it didn't come to fruition, maybe it wasn't quite the time, but you planted a seed that's ready to sprout and grow. And we need you here to implement this greater plan. You are the one who knows about it. And so we got to get up out of this worthlessness, like, I just don't deserve. And this is subconscious, right? It's not something you're walking around saying to people. You know, it's like if I asked you on the street if you felt worthless and not deserving of your true path, you know, you might not agree. This is deep subconscious programming that is in the way of us allowing support and allow ourselves to receive support and allowing ourselves to feel worthy of our mission and purpose, you know? And so a lot of these sensitive souls, because it didn't work out before, they're stuck in the past, feeling bad about that and feeling like they don't deserve the gifts that they have. This is ridiculous, because the gifts that we have, that you were working with when you were on your true path in these past lives, they're not, you can't deserve or not deserve them, because they're a part of who you are. And if you're not using them, you're in denial of them, and you allowed these forces to keep you from them, then they kind of eat away at you and bring on this like esoteric depression, right? And so we are being it's blooming up hard, just really big right now. Anywhere that these programming and belief systems in our field from this life or other lifetimes around whether or not we deserve to receive our own gifts. You know, when we're feeling like the universe isn't supporting us and we don't have what we need, that is really coming from our inability to receive our spiritual gifts, to be who we really are. And of course, these light worker souls have been just incredibly targeted and thwarted. And so what happens is that these souls carry the karma of the manipulators, taking it all on, saying, oh, I messed up, it's all my fault, right? But that's not your karma. You didn't create that. That's not what you wanted. It wasn't your intention. It's not your vibrational resonance. But light worker souls have been very targeted and manipulated. And then things happened, like you weren't able to complete that mission. And then you feel like, okay, I'm not worthy of that mission, you know, but there was actual forces that were interfering with your mission, because your mission is a threat to the control energies, you know. And so now these old projects that didn't get fulfilled, but were planted as a seed, are coming to the surface. And it's like, we got to get over this unworthiness and this delusions that we don't deserve, stand up and get back to work, you know, and start living that life that means something to us, you know, because those gifts that you are having trouble receiving, and even knowing that you have, are resonant with this greater purpose, and this greater path that's calling to you. Why you've been unsatisfied in life, you know, and it's calling to you. And so we have to stop and look at everywhere that we have been blocking our own abundance, you know, energies in our life, because of our attachment and belief system that we deserve poverty. See, poverty consciousness really comes from poverty of soul. And we've misgotten this, all crossed wired between our internal wealth and our external wealth, our internal potential and our external circumstances. And this is all breaking down right now, and a lot of really intense, vulnerable feelings coming up, pointing us directly to these belief systems, delusions, programming, conditioning that you bought into. This might be buried deep in your subconscious, but is keeping you from receiving the gift of you, which is what brings abundance into our lives and support for our projects and for our gifts, and the people that are also a part of our gift and the projects we're going to be working on. You know, there's a massive shift happening right now, and it's trying to shake out all of these delusions and kind of wake up from this bad nightmare and be like, oh, wow, okay, it's time for the next chapter, right? It's time to just, oh my gosh, it's time to do the next thing, right? Enough wallowing in the past about how it didn't work out before. You know, that's a trap. And so it's just a really intense time, and it's not a time to make a lot of like big decisions or push really hard in any direction right now, because we're way too adjusting. So I'm going to check back in as each of these personal planets make their move, you know, in this chess game. And we can kind of check in with this process. Throughout this whole process, though, the Sun and Mars stay close. Now, the Sun and Mars coming together is incredibly powerful. It's about will force and being able to act on your desires. It's bringing up a lot of suppressed emotions from these things from the past, and frustrations where you haven't stood up for yourself. And so we can actually, you know, Mars and the Sun typically coming together can be very volatile, but they're in Virgo. It's very grounded, and it's about taking back our spiritual will, our ability to say my way, you know, like I'm gonna resonate with what from my heart and soul, and I'm no longer gonna let this world tell me who I am and what I can and can't do. Because it is time, we are getting to the time to act, but just not right now, not in the next couple of weeks, right? But it's interesting, right? Because Mars and the Sun want to act and do some stuff and make some stuff happen, and yet we're just in this massive flux and change. So that'll be interesting, you know, in the second part of this whole deal between like the 6th and the 15th of September is when Mars will be in this T-square. And that's when I think we're going to start to understand where we need to take action in order to start taking action, you know, like really shown. Like right now we're getting the vulnerabilities all stirred up and the mud stirred up with Venus being like, well, like I just, you know, just oversensitive feelings just everywhere triggered around self-worth for people. Virgo is a very sensitive sign, you know, it's bringing up just a sensitivity. And with Virgo there, with all of this happening, we're feeling extra sensitive and extra triggered in our insecurities. And that's just kind of part of it right now. Because like I said, it's pointing us to these belief systems that are false and programmed, but we bought into them subconsciously. We got to go find them, right? So they stop dictating our reality from our subconscious, and we can start dictating our reality from our conscious that's in alignment with our ideal and our higher self, right? Instead of just getting knocked around in this world, and start to really focus and do what we're here to do instead of what the rest of the world has told us is important up to this point. So it's huge shifting, and just, you know, be gentle with yourself right now, and know it's a vulnerable time, and know that those vulnerabilities are pointing you to what needs to shift in your, you know, this reprogramming. And with Mars and the Sun together, it's really powerful to take action steps around this reprogramming. Like if you find some deep hidden unworthy feelings, how about you treat yourself worthy, like in a very deliberate way, self-care, taking care of yourself, and as a way to say to the universe, you're ready to change these subconscious beliefs. So taking little action steps that demonstrate you're ready to change your vibration to the universe is really helpful right now. So I will check in the next couple of days, and we'll talk about the next chapter of this crazy rearranging that's happening right now with this mutable T-square ongoing over the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to talking to you soon. Until then, hang in there. I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.